And welcome back, everyone, to the Crash the Pond podcast, Crash the Draft edition tonight, May the 5th. So happy Cinco de Mayo, happy belated May the 4th to those who celebrate, which is everyone. I think we can all agree on that. Everyone does indeed celebrate that. We've got a lot to talk about today, so we're just going to jump in. We have the draft lottery to discuss. We have who the Ducks are going to pick. We have maybe a little playoff talk at the end. Who knows? It's going to be interesting, but I want to point out first and foremost, Jake is rocking a Cole Caulfield t-shirt. How did you come across that? They sell those at the Sprouts in San Juan Capistrano?
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for doxing me. I probably have said it on this show, to be honest. But yeah, let's just say a good podcast buddy of mine, while he was out of the country and in Montreal, decided to get me a Cole Caulfield shirt. So I decided to pay it forward and wear it on this show and have a good fun in honor of your Montreal Canadiens being knocked out of the playoffs and having a run that none of us really expected from them.
It was a good run.
One that you should be proud of.
Can I expose you a little bit here?
Sure.
So I should also introduce that Patrick and Connor are here for those who haven't surmised that. But thank you guys for coming on again. So last week, Jake, I think it was after our last podcast, Jake was like, should I get a Matt Boldy t-shirt or a Kirill Kaprizov t-shirt? Right. Because you were doing the whole, like, I'm a Minnesota Wild believer.
Yeah.
We won't call it a bit.
It was a fun time.
That's what you were going with.
They were fun.
And I said, you should probably wait to see if they win this round. Like, if you're going to bandwagon correctly, like, make sure the wagon still has wheels on it. And so I'm glad you waited.
I kind of agree there.
I legit had
tough look if you're just one and done.
I legit had a Matt Boldy jersey in my cart from Dick's Sporting Goods.
Just sitting there for like a week and a half or what?
No, it was sitting there as Felix and I were after recording, and I almost pulled the trigger, and Felix talked me out of it. I had gotten to the checkout phase.
Wow.
And I stopped.
You know what that tells me, though? That if you had really wanted it, you would have ordered it, and so you didn't really want it. Because when Jake believes in something, there is no talking him out of it. It is like arguing with the wall. So, yeah, you did the right thing. But you did get a Cole Caulfield t-shirt, which I appreciate.
I did. So.
All right, should we talk about business? Should we get to business?
Let's do it.
Enough meandering. So, the draft lottery happened today, and I'm just gonna up and say it. The New York Islanders won the draft lottery, which was not on my bingo card, especially because last year nothing changed. We just got the order from the standings. So, Patrick, what was your reaction to seeing the very exciting and definitely never boring New York Islanders win the draft lottery?
I think I texted this group chat with an explicitive, but then my second reaction was that if the Ducks had won 2 more games, it would have been them. Just by standings reverse order. So
yeah, close.
But it's it's another lottery that the Ducks deserve to win and didn't win.
Dang, going there,
yeah,
right off the hop. Love it.
Always next year.
Connor, are you stoked about the Islanders winning?
No, I did think it was funny because I can't remember if it was on Sunday or on Saturday. I think in our little group chat we were going kind of back and forth about who we wouldn't like to see win it, and I think we talked about the Islanders specifically for like a couple texts back and forth. So it was just kind of funny to see that actually happened. I mean jumping all the way up. I mean, I'll probably just kind of let you guys go. You and Jake go next, and then we can talk about the whole spectacle of it. But I just thought that was so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it is fun when a team that wasn't one of the top percentages to win gets it, just because it's just shuffles the deck. But the Islanders are very, very random because I will say that if there is one franchise that desperately needed this, it might have actually been the Islanders. Jake, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. I think they needed this. I think Pittsburgh was another team that kind of needed this. It's interesting because I think the teams that are really bad, right? They kind of have their superstars already in the like. The Sharks have Macklin Celebrini, the Blackhawks have Connor Bedard. Like the teams kind of near that bottom. I don't think any of them necessarily needed a first overall pick unless I'm forgetting about someone. So it's almost like these teams kind of that are just starting to get into that mushy middle almost needed this more than other teams for this draft.
It's how you get out of the middle.
And so it's kind of interesting as the Islanders are potentially going to be starting a rebuild, maybe not with Matt Barzal. Who knows where things are going to go with that franchise.
Lou Lamoriello is gone now, which we should also point out.
We just no clue where things are going to go. And I think that's going to be really interesting. I also think just overall from the draft perspective and the lottery, like just from looking at an odds perspective, it makes sense that we were going to see a big jump, and we ended up seeing 2 of them this year. Because ever since they made the change from 3 lotteries to back down to 2 and kind of readjusted the odds to make it easier for a top team to win, we've gotten Buffalo retained their first overall selection, and Seattle went from 3rd to 2nd. The Devils made the biggest jump in this format, going 5th to 2nd. Montreal retained their first select. Like Montreal retained. The Ducks went from 1st to 2nd, but Chicago went from 3rd to 1st. Like there haven't been any like huge jumps that have happened since the format changed from the 3 draft picks to the 2.
We were due.
Kind of that. Like just from a pure percentages perspective, it makes sense that at some point a lower down team was probably going to make it. I mean, the last time that happened was 2020 with the Rangers making the jump from being one of the teams in the 8th to 15th range to 1st, and then before that was Chicago going 12th to 3rd. And so there have been teams that have been making those jumps, but it's just been a while since this format. So it makes sense that it happened, and it happened for the Islanders this year.
Yeah, and then there was a second lottery with the Utah Hockey Club landing the 4th overall pick. What were their odds? Where were they at before? Where did they jump up from?
I want to say they were like
14th.
14th. Yeah, 14th.
Oh, wow. Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made the 10 spot jump.
They had a 3.2% chance of doing so.
So the undertone of all of this, which we haven't really directly hit at yet, is that the Ducks started off at 8th. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
And moved down to 10th. And Ducks fans, people on our Discord, you all, Twitter, everyone's very okay with this. Everyone's just totally fine. Nobody's screaming conspiracy. Nobody pointing out. Nobody tweeting out that the Ducks have never moved up. Nobody's doing that. Ducks moved down. It's a bummer. I will just say this, and I will throw it to you guys, but I think that in this draft, moving down from 8 to 10 is almost negligible. Like it could end up mattering depending on who the teams in front of them pick, but I think that in terms of the quality of player, it's not going to make a huge difference. Patrick, where are you at on that? And your thoughts just on 10th overall too?
Yeah, that's you nailed it. It was the difference between 8 and 10 in this draft is there's not much of a difference, especially because we know how GMs draft, and there's going to be a good player there at 8 that there would be at 10. I think I'm saying that right. So that's not a big deal, especially because we know essentially the top. Well, right now the consensus top 2 players to 2 to 5. So
yeah, are you miffed at all about this lack of Ducks ever moving up, or is it just kind of? I guess it's just another day at the office for the Ducks in terms of the draft lottery.
This one doesn't bother me so much just because they didn't have much of a shot. It was 12% to move up to 1 or 2. It was 6% to win the whole thing. So you're not putting your eggs in that basket. It's just when a team does make that big jump and it's not the Ducks, it kind of stings just because, again, there's I had a whole article about how the Ducks deserved this pick, just like I had one last year, where the Ducks
had
to draft. Well, yeah, the Ducks had to draft number 2 behind Bedard and Crosby in the last 20 years, and they were the one team of the past 4 years that didn't stay put at number 1 odds, and they've been bad for 7 years now, and it's just a accumulation of all that stuff that I feel like they deserved it, but you're not miffed that they didn't get it just because their odds were so low.
Yeah, one thing I'll throw in here, and I'll throw it to you, Connor, is I'm seeing some takes of, their odds of finishing 10th were lower than their odds of getting first. And I do want to point out that while that is true, it's a difference of 3 and 6%, which is not a big difference. Like if it was 3% and 17%, then yeah, that's a pretty big gap. But that's pretty statistically just not noteworthy. So I just want to throw a little cold water on that. But Connor, your reaction to this glorious day for the Ducks?
Yeah, and that's 6 and 3% out of 100%, not like 3 and 10 or 6 and 10. So like let's like
0.06
yeah,
versus 0.03.
Yeah, I mean people are acting like they had 3 and 10, 3 out of 10, 6 out of 10.
It's double. It's double.
No, I mean, like you said, just another day at the office. It's, moving 8 to 10 in most drafts, I would say, is not really that giant of a difference. I think with this draft where I'm kind of at is I'd kind of almost compare it a little bit to the 2022 draft. Maybe not fully, because I mean, the 2022 draft was different because coming off the COVID year and everything, but kind of a similar vein where like after the 4 or 5, maybe top 6 picks, it's kind of wide open. Like I feel like we generally know who that top 4-ish, top 5. I feel like we can generally kind of guesstimate who it's going to be. Yeah, I mean, once you go in that 7 to 12, 8 to 12 range, I mean, it could really go anyway.
Are you bringing up 2022 because of where the Ducks picked in that draft?
Chance? Yeah, I guess. I mean, that really wasn't where I was going with it. But
10th overall, Pavel Mintyukov worked out pretty well.
Yeah, perfect comparison, right? So, I mean, hey, the Ducks may get another Pavel Mintyukov here or another Nick Ritchie because that was the last time.
Hey, don't mention that one.
We're batting 500 and 10th overall though, so we'll see.
Hey, 500's pretty good in terms of draft hit rate. It's funny because I'm just airing out all the narratives. We're doing like a narrative flush before we start.
Let me add this to the not moving up part of it. There's a lot of teams that have been more hard done by the lottery than the Ducks.
Yeah, you did like a whole spreadsheet about this.
I very quickly just put together teams that have won. Like first off, the fact that the Ducks were bad basically once the lottery changed from being the 3 team back to 2 really benefited the Ducks in this mindset or in this situation because the Red Wings were god awful for that period of time with the 3 draft picks. They didn't win one lottery. And by that what I mean is they didn't win first, second, or third in any of those lotteries. That is, the Ducks, at least in the Karlsson, the draft that they got Leo Karlsson, they still won a lottery in that. Yes, they dropped one draft pick, but they still won that second lottery that's there. The Detroit Red Wings didn't win that first or second one, and there was a lottery for third, and they've dropped to 4th in almost every single one, or 5th, or things like that. Yes, they drafted Mort Seider. Yes, they drafted Lucas Raymond. They had some good finds there, but there were better players above those guys in those drafts potentially. And so I think if you're looking for a team that was more hard done, there's one there. I mean, Colorado, yes, they got Nathan McKinnon in that draft. And yes, they ended up with Cale Makar, which turns out to probably be the best player in that draft. But they had like one of the most historically bad seasons in NHL history. And they ended up drafting 4th overall because of it. And so while I get Ducks fans feeling like they're hard done because of Bedard, because of Crosby, because of things like that, there aren't a bunch of teams that have won lotteries and been super lucky. Like even like Toronto, the Maple Leafs won a lottery, but they were the worst team in the league that year. Like there's a lot of teams where the lotteries that they've won were the ones where they essentially retained their first overall. The only teams that I would really claim to have benefited from the lottery and done really well, Chicago's won. They've won 5 lotteries, and only one of those they were the worst team in the league and retained their spot. New Jersey's won 4 lotteries. Granted, I think some of those were when you could only move up 4 spots, and it wasn't for first overall at that point in time. Florida's won 3, Edmonton's won 3, and the rest of the teams in the league have just won 2 or 1 max since 1994. So it's just there aren't many teams that win all the time, and I think it kind of is how it goes with having a lottery system for first overall.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. And like, look, if you're a fan of this team and you're pissed off, I get it. It's not this wrong thing to feel, but we're just laying out kind of the math and the probabilities and all of that, and to say that this isn't some robbery per se.
Like, I think this year, so I think the last 2 years you could feel hard done because of how bad the Ducks were, but they were still going to get a genuinely really good player out of it. I think this year, if you want to feel hard done, like, and say, okay, yeah, the odds were low, but the jump would have been huge.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, exactly. Like this, the odds of them getting first were very low.
Yeah.
I think I think just people see the 6% on the list and where it falls, and consider that like maybe a little higher, but it's like Connor was saying, 6% is not a lot. It's a very, if I told you there's a 6% chance that you're going to fall over and break a leg when you leave your house this morning, you're probably still going to leave the house comfortably, because there's a 94% chance that won't happen. So yeah, lotteries are hard to win because math. Another narrative that I've seen crop up, and my narrative source is just me looking at my Twitter replies. That's all it is. So I'm putting that out there. The first reaction was trade the pick. Trade the pick. Move the pick. It's 10th overall. 10th overall is a bad pick. And I'm just going to say this, and maybe it's a little unfair, but it's like, would you trade Pavel Mintyukov for a veteran top 6 winger? Because that's essentially what the proposition is 10th overall is low. It's a quote-unquote weak draft, if people even get to that part of the argument. Therefore, go out and get a player. And I think there's two sides to that coin, where it's like, yes, in theory, if you can package the player or the pick to go and get a player, then fine. But the reason you're doing it is probably why another team wouldn't, because 10th overall it's not 3rd overall or 2nd overall. So, Patrick, I'll start with you. Are you trading the pick? Are you canvassing the league to move off of number 10?
Well, yes, you always listen to offers. But no, I did a little bit of research before we hopped on, and in the last 10 years, last 10 drafts, 6 top 10 picks have been traded, and it's only worked out for the team that traded away the pick once, and that was in 2017 when the Rangers traded for Stepan and Ranta, and they got rid of the 7th overall pick.
Wow.
Other than that, it's been, Ottawa traded the pick that became Bowen Byram. San Jose traded the pick that became Tim Stützle. Vancouver traded the pick that became Dylan Guenther.
Jesus.
Chicago traded the pick that became Juracek, and Ottawa traded the pick that became Korchinski. So I don't want to be that team that trades the pick that becomes a great.
Yeah.
And I don't even know, all those were like before the season before.
Some of those were before the draft, before the picks were like this. I know the Stützle one because of the Erik Karlsson trade, right?
Correct.
Yeah. But the Stepan Ranta one, that was around the draft, or am I going crazy? Anyway, I mean, it doesn't really matter. But yes,
DeBrincat's the only one that comes to mind of trading a pick. What was it? 13th was what the Blackhawks got for DeBrincat? Or am I misremembering?
Well, there was the Kirby Dach trade where the Habs traded Alexander Romanov for the 13th overall pick, and then traded that to Chicago for Kirby Dach. So, yeah, it doesn't really happen that often, like Patrick's research shows, and it's not necessarily this like home run play. Connor, are you trading the pick?
I mean, I don't really have anything to add to what Patrick said. I mean, yeah, you're always going to listen.
Well, I feel like to ask the question is kind of to answer it, because it's like, well, what am I trading for? What is the deal? Yeah. Like there's no, it's kind of this empty statement or this empty thought where it's like, yeah, if you're offering me, I guess that's how we should play it out. Is like, what would it take for you to trade this pick? How highly do you value this pick? Like, let's say, I'm trying to think of an example. Like,
I mean, that's the hard part. Is
yeah, because is it just the pick, or is it the pick plus?
Well, that's the thing.
And Zellweger for something insane, like, because I mean, there's a lot of different variations we can go here.
Oh, let me ask you this: 10th plus. Let's go 10th plus Zellweger for Pettersson.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
No.
I say no.
Yeah.
I think Zellweger can become a top 4 D, and then 10th overall can probably become
okay.
top.
That
4.
is something I would be willing to gamble on. It's something of that nature. That's
I guess I'm
something
also
where
a bit. I'm a bit down on Pedersen too, which probably is clouding my thought process here. I guess would Vancouver do that? I don't know.
Depends on how they. No, they wouldn't.
Possibly.
They probably
think they
shoot for
would.
more. They probably shoot for more and then go elsewhere and then end up not getting.
I don't think
exactly
they would
what they
want to
wanted.
pick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
that's fair.
that's the thing too is your package has to really perfectly line up with the other team's kind of needs and where they're at in their trajectory, whether they're rebuilding or whether they're going for it. So
I figured it out, guys.
who is
I
it?
know what Verbeek's going to do. The 10th overall pick for Steven Stamkos.
How about this? Calgary. Who's a player on Calgary that intrigues you? Because I feel like Calgary could definitely use a higher pick. I don't think that they're. I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like they're kind of in this in between where they're not good enough to make the playoffs, but they're not rebuilding. And they traded their first round pick this year to Montreal, so maybe they want to get back into the dance. Is there a player on Calgary that intrigues that you would move this? I mean, this still premium asset for.
I always like Blake Coleman, but not for the 10 overall.
I was thinking that same exact thing.
I like Rasmus Anderson. I think
Kadri?
that makes sense with an
Yeah,
extension.
Anderson. No, I wouldn't do Kadri.
Kadri's kind of old, isn't he? He's like 34.
I wouldn't necessarily trade for any defenseman with what we've seen from the Ducks group. I would kind of keep it to looking at a forward, but I mean,
Backlund?
Joel Farabee is young. I don't know if I would. What was the trade to get Joel Farabee?
Oh, that was the weird one. It was
That was the Frost
Kuzmenko.
Kuzmenko thing.
Yeah,
Like 10th overall
That's
is
right,
probably not
yeah.
enough.
Matt
Or, sorry,
Coronado.
10th overall is probably more than enough.
Is Matt Coronado available after that contract? Yeah, so like that's the thing with all of this is that yes, you can throw out that take of trade the pick, but realistically, there's a lot of factors that have to line up to actually make it a feasible thing, and it doesn't happen very often. I mean, I really maybe we'll do a deep dive next time around and try to figure this out. But yeah, there's not a lot of teams that make sense. I mean, yeah, the way I see it is like for a team that's currently good, let's say that's in the playoffs right now, or that was in the first round, does the 10th overall pick really do anything for them? Calgary to me is a team where it's like, yeah, they might actually be entering a rebuild, whereas those other teams, like let's say Minnesota, they want to be good. That 10th overall pick isn't worth anything to them.
That's why I think Nashville could be an interesting one where if they're just trying to load up on prospects for this year, that's why I even made the joke about Stamkos. But that's a team that could be interesting from that perspective.
Forsberg?
Yes, do that.
Just go for the top.
Patrick
Jonathan-
didn't even have to think more than
Jonathan
twice.
Marchessault.
Yeah, jeez.
I think there might be an age cutoff too of like you are
If you
giving up.
if you can't sign him, go give up assets for him, right?
Give up your 10th overall pick for
Yeah,
him.
perfect.
That was exactly. That's what I'm like.
Great
move.
It's the very Verbeek move.
Someone brings up in the chat Charlie McAvoy, which I know is probably a little tongue in cheek, but Boston does kind of fit this description of a team that, like, what are they really doing? I'm not sure, and maybe they could be enticed to double up on top 10 picks.
Matt also in our chat brings up an interesting point that while yes, looking at teams that are bad could be a way to do it, another way is if someone's going to be in a cap bind and they're looking at a 10th overall pick as being a cheap player on an ELC that could probably help them in the future. Like that could be a way to potentially do. And they brought up like a package for Robertson or like Ross Colton.
Yeah, that could be interesting. 10th overall for Hampus Lindholm. Bring him home. Okay.
Ask for pasta. Right the wrong of 2014.
I figured it out. 10th overall for Vinny Lettieri. Perfect. There's your
Boom.
guy in Boston.
Boom.
Yeah, it's a fun little rabbit hole, but ultimately, if you guys were to guess how many top 10 picks are traded this year, is anyone willing to say more than 0?
No.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where I'm at. It just doesn't happen.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
why
if-
don't we? Go
Can I
ahead.
guess if there were anyone to do it? Can I guess who it would be?
Oh
Sure.
yeah, of course. We love speculation.
Buffalo.
That is a good one. Yeah, because I mean we can go down the list. Islanders are for sure making the pick. San Jose is for sure making the pick. Chicago, Utah, Nashville,
Like
probably. This is
like
a rare chance for
all
them.
those teams should make their pick.
Yeah, like I think Nashville, it's a top 5 pick. They just don't really have a path right now to being cup contenders. They need to use this lifeline that they've kind of given themselves by being terrible. Philly, yeah, they're still firmly in a rebuild. Boston, I mean, unless they are just really dead set on, no, we are not going to build where we just want to keep competing and keep kind of spinning the wheel, I think that they make the pick. Seattle absolutely makes the pick. Buffalo might be the one. I think Connor might be bang on there where it feels like they're just desperate. Like they are just going to do something that might be off the beaten path. And then the Ducks, I don't. Do you guys think the Ducks will act like, just talking about what we think they will do? Like would Pat Verbeek do this? No. I lean towards no. This has been a very steady rebuild under Pat Verbeek, and I don't see why they would try to cut the line basically.
Yeah. And just knowing what, going off the Gibson rumors and everything, just knowing what he gauges his asking price as for, some of his top assets, I think it would have to really, knock his socks off. And I just don't know if we're getting a knock your socks off deal for the 10th overall.
We also just haven't seen him make that type of deal.
Yeah.
And so I think just because there's a lack of that type of trade makes me less likely to think that he's going to do something like that. And so I think especially I think as you start entering your contending window, you're not obviously going to have 10th overall picks. You're not going to have these high picks for a long time. And so I think taking advantage of that and being able to layer in a 10th overall, which may not be a top of the lineup type of player, but more middle six player if it's a forward, and someone that can provide you with cheap production. They're going to spend a couple years in junior. It's going to take them a little bit to make the NHL. By the time they do, you're going to have like a good 3 to 5 years of them on cheaper contracts to fill in that gap. And I think that's what you're hoping here. I mean, Dallas is kind of a prime example of this. Granted,
yes.
they're not exactly higher picks, but you look at the Wyatt Johnstons of the world. Hell, I mean, he's no longer there, but Logan Stankoven.
Allowed them to get Mikko
Rantanen. You make these picks and you trust your drafting department, you trust your development department, and you let them kind of layer in and fill in and help improve the existing team. They're not necessarily going to be these godsends that are going to be there from the start, but they are the ones that kind of fill in that gap. I mean, honestly, Cam Fowler was kind of that for this team. He was taken, 13th overall?
12th.
12th? Was it? I always forget if it was 12th or 13th. But granted, made the jump right away, but he's a player that kind of was able to layer into that group and provide some cheaper production. Was kind of the beginning of that youth movement, but kind of work his way in. And I think that's what this type of pick could become for this team as they start to contend.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, which is something I was going to mention too, is that the Ducks have their core. They have their top pick in Leo Carlsson. They have guys around him up front. They have too many defensemen that they don't know what to do with them half the time. So the table is kind of already set, and as these guys mature, and especially as these guys come up for contracts, there's probably going to have to be some shuffling and potentially people moved. And so, like you were just saying, having someone waiting in the weeds to come in on a cheap deal who can potentially have an impact and supplement that, I mean, that's kind of a cheat code almost for a rebuild. Also, would you say that, to the Cam Fowler point, that Hampus Lindholm kind of fits that description a little bit? Because when did they draft him? 2012?
He also was a bit higher. What was he, 5th overall?
He was
overall?
He was 6th. I think he was 6th overall.
Okay.
But were the Ducks I don't know, I wasn't following back then, but were the Ducks truly, was it just more of a one-off bad year? Because then they drafted 26th the year after, so I'm guessing that.
Yeah.
That was the year that they fired Carlisle and brought on Boudreaux. And they were bottom of the absolute standings when that happened.
Yeah, and then they were in the playoffs the next season.
Yeah, Boudreaux started turning them around. So it was one of those very much a coaching type situation.
Yeah, you look at their first round picks, and it goes 12 Fowler in 2010, 30 Raquel 2011. Then they go from 30 to 6 for Lindholm, and then they go back down to 26 in 2013. So, yeah, you can kind of see what the outlier was in there. Okay, well, why don't we do this? Let's do a little bit of a mock draft, since that's just kind of been our tradition here. I think that the reason why I'm proposing a mock draft is because I think we can kind of put names out there for who we think the Ducks will take at 10. But when you're picking 10th, you are completely dependent on how the board shakes out. Like there's a lot that's out of your control. And so I think if we play out a scenario here, we can have a sense of who the Ducks will be able to choose from at 10th. So, okay, we're just going to go around the horn. I'll just give you a team, and you pick for that team. Who wants to be the Islanders? I'll let someone take the Islanders. Jake, yeah, this is a good idea actually. Yeah, Jake Rudolph, congratulations, you are the new GM of the New York Islanders.
Oh, he's the new Lou.
I love it.
It is an open position, so you are eligible to be the GM.
Thank you.
Who are
Wait,
you picking?
is Jake keeping the no facial hair rule?
No, obviously not. Let people
He
grow out
says
their
with
hair.
a clean shaven face.
Yeah, I was gonna say
This is not clean shaven, not completely. It was not with a razor. Let people do what they want with their facial hair and their hair. The New York Islanders want to come up and congratulate. Who do I want to say is going to win the cup? The Toronto Maple Leafs for being the first Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup since
Patrick's just dying
1993.
right now.
I thought you forgot who the prospects were.
No.
What about the city?
Oh, we would like to thank the city of Los Angeles and Rob Blake for showing us around, seeing as now he doesn't have a job. And the New York Islanders are proud to select Matthew Schaefer from the Erie Otters.
Wow, that was well done. Bravo.
Thank you.
You hit all the notes. You got the host city. The one thing you forgot to do was shout out your fans watching back at the local Buffalo Wild Wings back on Long Island. Okay. Connor or Patrick? Who wants San Jose?
I don't really care. Patrick, you do whatever you want.
Okay. First of all, we'd like to thank all the fans in San Jose. No. This is the problem with that format.
Britannia Arms is the bar, by the way.
You guys are crazy if you don't think I'm going to do that too.
Start Googling Chicago bars then. Sorry, go ahead.
San Jose is going to pick Michael Misa if Schaefer is off the board.
Yes.
Misa had a historic third season in the OHL. 134 points in 65 games. You know, he's the second overall pick. He's 1 or 2.
Man, Patrick, I'm really disappointed you did not make a Jar Jar Binks joke in there with it being
Misa going to San Jose.
There you go.
Wow. Deep cut. In honor of May the 4th. Love that. So I'll chime in here and as just kind of the commentator and say that I think that I saw a quote by Greer, or someone made me aware of a quote that they're taking best player available. Like they're not, like they are just going to take whoever they think is best, which I guess is kind of a nothing quote, but
yes,
I would be shocked is there a world where it's anyone but Misa at 2?
If Schaefer's 1?
Well,
No.
okay, let's dispense with that then. So Schaefer at 1, is that a certainty?
No.
What's the percent? What's the percent chance he goes 2?
That Schaefer goes 2?
Or sorry, that Schaefer goes 1.
Oh, 65?
65. Wow, that's low.
Yeah,
Is it?
Well,
I was going to say like 80.
But also,
I'm not
sorry,
pushing back. I'm just like, dang, that's lower than I think we would have said maybe a couple months ago.
we don't know who the GM is going to be in New York. It's
Fair.
Just,
Yeah, no, that's
a good
fair.
point. That is a good point.
I think that more I think 65 might be right. Also, because we just haven't seen him in a while. Like he's been away. Other players have been having their stock rise, and by the same token, I'll say that the Islanders are kind of so on the cutting room floor that you just need kind of a potential star to build around. They might also say Michael Misa is that, and also Michael Misa could potentially play for them next season and they do have a roster that's kind of built to at least be competitive now. So maybe they're lured by Misa, but I feel like whoever gets hired next will have more of a longer view of this team than just next season. So so we'll say Schaefer's a pretty safe pick, and then Misa, I think for the Sharks, Misa makes a lot of sense just because now you've got your top 2 centers for the next decade. So you're pretty set there. Okay.
Yep.
Connor.
All right. I'm Kyle Davidson. I want to thank all of our fans down at the Cubby Bear in Wrigleyville for the watch party. Shout out the Maple Leafs. And Kyle Davidson, I think, is going to buy in to the drop of James Higgins and not select him. I think he's going to take Porter Martone. I think he's going to get Connor Bedard that wing piece. I think Desnoyers. I don't think he goes 3. I was kind of maybe thinking about, is this where a team kind of goes against Desnoyers? But I don't think that's going to be Chicago at 3. So I think I'm maybe not quite comfortably, but I think they walk up confidently and they select Porter Martone.
I think that's a good pick just because it does feel like a Porter Martone fits really nicely into what they have, where they kind of have their smaller, shiftier, quicker forwards. They have a lot of good young defensemen. You throw in a power winger like Porter Martone who can also make plays and, create his own shot, and that does feel like a pretty shrewd pick there, Kyle Davidson. Good job. I'm trying to think where else they might go, but we don't need to do this for every single pick. Okay. Who is up next? 4th overall.
Utah.
Oh, I'm Utah. Oh, man. Do I trade this? I might trade this pick. No, I won't do that. Okay, the Utah Hockey Club.
Mammoth.
The Mammoth.
Yeah, let's go.
They're going to announce that before the draft for
My
sure.
number one choice.
Okay, the Utah Mammoth.
It does sound good.
I should have thought about this before I went up to the podium.
Why is this one
prep
kind
time?
of hard?
This one's kind of hard because they are a team that has been drafting for a long time, and they don't have like a glaring hole in their pipeline. I'm gonna play realistic. I'm gonna play the realism angle because I know who I would want here, but I don't think that will be the player selected. I look at perfect. I look at the forward group here in Utah, here in beautiful Salt Lake, and I think to myself, well, I like what we have. I like our mix, but some of the guys that we're really counting on to carry the mail, i.e. Clayton Keller and Logan Cooley, are a little bit on the smaller side or a little bit, I won't use the term not playoff hockey, but they play a certain way, and we need to add a little mix into there, a little bit of a different look. And so at 4th overall, we are picking Anton Frundell to the Utah Hockey Club, and we're adding his mix, his complementary playmaking, shooting style that I think will feed off of our skilled guys very well. So Frundell to Utah. I struggle to think of who else they would go with. Maybe they want to add another center, but there's also the debate with Frundell about position. But we'll stick with him at 4 just for the sake of time. Okay. Who wants Nashville? Jake, do you want Nashville?
Sure.
Back to Jake.
I'm just going to name someone, and then you guys get to tell me if it's good or bad. I'm just simply going off the Athletics mock draft here. I'm going to take the next player on the board who was slated to go to Utah, but was not the player that Felix selected. So Caleb Desnoyers. I probably completely screwed up that pronunciation.
You did. Desnoyers, but it's okay. So did Corey Proman do that mock draft?
He had
or is it multiple writers that were in there?
writers? So Max Boltman was the one that had him to Utah.
Oh, so Boltman picked Desnoyers to Utah.
Yes,
because I know that Proman was one of the early adopters, at least in the kind of mainstream prospect writers of Desnoyers in the top 5. So
I think if he's a riser, also just from a center perspective, I could see Nashville coveting that.
Yeah, no, I think Desnoyers makes a lot of sense for Nashville because he kind of gives them that centerpiece, no pun intended, but that guy that kind of that anchor that they can just build everything around. We question, of course, on Crash the Draft his ultimate upside, but I like that. I like that for Denoyer and a cute kid, which we love as well. I'm speaking mostly for myself there. Okay.
Yeah, I'd say this is the first team that I could pretty easily see taking him.
I feel like Frondell will just go before Denoyer for some reason. I just think he's had a... I mean, they both have great ends to the season, but I feel like maybe teams see him as a bit more of an upside play, but also has that floor. I don't know. Okay. Philly. Patrick, you're Philly. Philadelphia Flyers.
Philly's interesting. They have a brand. But like looking at the remaining players in this range, I don't know if anyone really fits that brand.
No Jet Luchenko?
Well, so I think they desperately do need center help. So I think they go with James Higgins here.
Does this feel like kind of the floor, or I guess the bottom of where Higgins could go, or does he have further slide potential?
I
think
see
he
him
has
slipping
further
his
slide
tons.
potential. I think he has further slide potential just because, like I mentioned, we know how Philly and we know how GMs kind of prioritize their players. They want big, mean playoff style, right? And Higgins doesn't really fit that, and Philly also needs a defenseman, so maybe they could reach. And we know that GMs do like to draft their bigger defensemen early as well, but I think they need a center more. But I think Higgins could fall a little bit further, but not much.
I was going to ask you, is there potential for Higgins to fall to the Ducks? Is he the classic guy that just like completely slips and continues to slide and ends up way lower than any mock draft really had him?
I think it's possible. I just don't know if it's likely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because the guys in this range are all like, they all have similar, or not similar, but just as many question marks or perceived question marks.
Yeah. And I think Higgins has just more of that kind of credibility and cachet. He's been thought of highly for longer.
I mean,
and
I even know his name, and I haven't done a deep dive on all these guys like you guys have.
And I thought he was good for BC in those later games, like the the tournament. Like I thought that he was one of their better players. Like I think he kind of just got a little maligned because of the expectations, whereas other guys were able to just rise because of lower expectations. Maybe Philly goes Radim Murtka at 6.
That's what I was thinking, but
that would be a very Philly thing.
Right.
But they did pick Matvei Michkov, who you wouldn't think of as a Flyers pick.
Yeah.
and Luchenko.
Yeah, and so Hagen's being, man, you add Hagens in there and because you already have your kind of dynamic playmaker in Michkov, and so if you have concerns about Hagen's upside, well, he can just kind of fit in with these guys potentially. So I like that for Philly. Okay, Connor, you want to pick for Boston?
I have the Bruins.
You're getting the original 6 clubs. So.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is fairly easy here. Talking about teams that have a brand back to back here, Philly and now Boston. I think I'd be pretty confident in saying the Bruins take Jake O'Brien here. It's just
interesting.
I know we're all fans of Jake O'Brien. I know we talked about him extensively on the last pod, but on the last time we did Crash the Draft. But I think Boston. Yeah, I think they take O'Brien here. Was also thinking about Murka. I think this could be a Murka spot too. But I think they want to boost up their forward pipeline. So I'm going to say Job. J-O-B.
Yeah, I think for Boston he would be a really nice fit. I think that he makes a lot of sense for them. I mean, do you think there's a world where Jake O'Brien goes before Higgins?
There could be.
Yeah. Just from what I've seen on this, and big player can shoot
OHL.
I think Jacob, just from that side of it.
Yeah.
From not doing a lot of research, I can see just teams loving Jake O'Brien.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not as many questions. It just feels like James Higgins has all the question marks, whereas some guys do legitimately have them, but it's just not part of their narrative, which matters this time of year. Okay, so we've got Jake O'Brien to Boston. Love that. I am the Seattle Kraken. They have a GM, right? Jason Botterill? Is that their GM?
Yep.
I mean, how can you pass up on that guy with his track record of excellence? Golly. Okay. Well, Seattle Kraken. This is a fascinating one because I'm just going to think out loud here. Seattle Kraken, you've got your forwards in Matty Beniers. You've got, why am I spacing on his name? The WHL winger.
Cadden?
Yeah, Berkeley Catton. And then
Shane Wright.
Like they've got a bunch of forwards, I would say. Who's their best defense prospect? I mean, do they have any?
Riker Evans.
Riker Evans?
Riker Evans.
This is easy.
I couldn't remember if that was his name or not.
I forgot that. I forgot that was a person. So I am going to. Oh man, it's like I could see Seattle being the team that would take Victor Eklund this high, just because that's kind of part of their brand. But because of the new management and maybe just wanting to kind of diversify their prospect pool, I think they might just go a complete 180. And this might be the Radim Murtka home. I mean,
Yep.
they've probably seen him quite a bit playing for the Seattle Thunderbirds. And you add his profile as a big physical defenseman, or I don't know how physical he is, but he's 6'6". You add him to that with the mix of the forwards that they have, and it's starting to look more complete, which we can debate how much that matters. Just draft the player you think is the best, but I could see them being at the stage where it's like, we've got our guys up front. We couldn't get a Higgins or Desnoyers or someone to really build the forward group around, so let's just address a need here. Maybe they go Jackson Smith if they want to get a little crazy, but I think that Murtka is more of what they'll covet. So Murtka to Seattle at number 8. So, Jake, do you want to draft for Buffalo? Assuming Buffalo makes this pick?
Sure. I'll just go with what...
Just go chalk.
Yeah,
whatever chalk means, but
Going with what this mock draft says, and I will let you guys fold opinions on it, but Brady Martin to the Buffalo Sabres.
The Brady Martin discussion.
Did Patrick's pick for the Ducks just get stolen? Is that possible?
Actually, no, it didn't, because I know what it's going to be.
Oh, Brady Martin's been a name that I feel like has cropped up more and more lately. Maybe because he's apparently playing really well at the U18s.
Mm-hmm.
He's very physical. He kind of brings an element that a lot of these guys just don't have. And I could see Buffalo being like, you know what? We have all these small skilled guys. Give us some jam. Give us some jam. And he can play too. Like, he's not just a grinder, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's your high floor, middle six center. He's right-handed and he's physical, but he also, he's responsible and he makes plays, gets to the net, all the things that, the JJ Peterkas don't. Like, he fills those gaps. So I think that makes sense for Buffalo.
Yeah, I was reading some scouting reports from his games, and some people have noted his creativity. Mm-hmm. So maybe he's a little bit more of a playmaker than his kind of reputation lets on. So if you can get a guy who is as physical as he is, but also can actually make plays, then I mean that could be the thing that Buffalo is missing. Although I don't really know what they're missing, to be honest, at this point.
Yeah.
Like, they just have to do it. Okay. Interesting pick there, Jake, as the Buffalo GM. So that leaves the Anaheim Ducks. So, Patrick, why don't you do the honors? Who are you picking? We can spend the rest of the time on this, but right. Anaheim Ducks, you're up, number 10.
So if I'm the GM, it's Victor Eklund, no doubt.
Yeah, that's where you're going to go. Yep.
Yeah, I think he's that skilled East-West guy that would go so perfectly next to his countryman Leo Carlson. Find the space, and he's underratedly a dog as well. Like he's the forechecking guy that'll pressure defensemen and cause those turnovers, and then get open for shots and whatnot, and lead rushes and all that good stuff that we love. But these are the players in the range. But if Victor Eklund is there, I think that would be a slam dunk pick. Whether Verbeek would actually make it, I guess we'll find out, possibly. But that's who I would pick if all these names ahead of him that we just mocked are gone.
Yeah, and so I'll add to that I think Victor Eklund would be a great pick. So you have my vote as Ducks GM. You passed the test.
Nice.
but yeah, just because he's he doesn't fit that Verbeek archetype of maybe more physical size, whatever. You can never have too much skill, and bring in another playmaker, like you said, has some dog in him too. That could really help elevate the Ducks' top six. So I personally love that. The other thing too is that we just went through a gauntlet of teams where the order of these players could really change. And so, for example, like Jake O'Brien might still be there at 10. Radim Murtka might still be there at 10. There's guys who we have drafted in our mock that could still be there. I mean, Jackson Smith is probably the only guy where I'm like, yeah, they just will not take that guy if he's there. Another Jackson. I mean, there's no rule against that, but is he a left shot D?
He's
Yes.
sure
Yes.
He is.
I don't see that happening. Not with his kind of more offensive skill set.
Yeah, that would be the one pick where I'd be like, really? Like, probably audibly. Like,
Yeah, it's just like you
You know,
really are just gonna keep doing this.
And-
Like,
yeah.
There's only so many guys who can play.
So the
What
other
about-
one.
Oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
You go.
No, go for
Your
it.
show.
No, I think we're going to the same place. So go
Yeah,
for it.
the other big elephant in the room, the 6'5" elephant, is
Yep.
Roger McQueen, who missed a lot of time with a back injury. Sounds like some sort of vertebrae injury, and it seems like maybe the Caden Lindstrom effect from last year could affect McQueen's kind of the narrative around him. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's there at 10, and if the Ducks even pass on him at 10. And yeah, but the skill is all there if he's healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading and watching some of Elite Prospects' latest rankings, and someone I think said something to the effect of, yeah, if this guy had been healthy, he'd be in contention for top 3, which that is quite the claim. Just because I mean the guys in the top 3 are pretty good, and so bold, but yeah, he's got the potential. I really don't think he's gonna go. There's just. What's the team that can take that risk in this top 10? I mean, it might be the Ducks.
I was going to say it's the Ducks.
It's
Yeah.
the Ducks and the Sabres, I think, that could, just because they're young pipelines. Their 23U pipelines are so loaded that they could maybe afford to miss potentially on a talent like this, that risk reward boom bust kind of guy.
Yeah.
So I think those are the two teams that would consider it, or that could consider it. But who knows? Like, Philly might as well. But
Philly?
I think
I could see Philly, yeah.
yeah, deductive
Yeah.
reasoning suggests that Buffalo and Anaheim could afford to miss out on a talent.
I mean, maybe Utah, because they might have the same thought of, well, we have our pipeline already. Let's just take a swing. They also love their bigger players, judging by past history. Daniel Boot comes to mind. So maybe, but yeah, I'm kind of with you where I think there's a chance he slides past number 10. If I were the Ducks, I'm not sure I would be the one to take that risk. But of course, we don't know the specific nature of the injury, and that always kind of clouds. This is why, like, I look back at that whole Caden Lindstrom thing last year, and I think, man, like, there's just so much we don't know, and so it's almost like you almost have to throw it out and just judge off what you see. But that's not how teams the team actually making the pick is going to operate, but they're going to have the medicals. And so I think that if I were the Ducks, despite the fact that, yes, you're a team that can maybe afford to take that risk a little bit more, it would be nice to get another player who you know is going to be there, or at least you have far more certainty and doesn't have back issues as a teenager. Like, that's just, I'm not sure that's something I'm signing up for. I'm curious where Jake stands in this debate of the McQueen Hail Mary at number 10.
Give me Eklund.
Well, no, but just like the general
sorry.
thought of, like, you know, are you, because of how the Ducks are positioned with their pipeline, are you maybe willing to take that risk?
Like, I think to what I had said, looking at this draft pick and who the Ducks could be taking with this pick, and the fact that they're a player, like, they don't need this player to be on the team next year. They don't need him to be on the team in 2 years even. Like, they can really kind of take their time with this player. And so if you think that there is a market inefficiency here where teams are maybe down on him because of that injury, but you were able to wait, you were able to really let him develop, let him grow, and you think that, I mean, the one thing that we've seen from Verbeek with his drafting of taking Leo Carlson, of taking Beckett Seneca, he is really high, it seems like, on taking the guy that has the most runway in their development. And so if that's what he thinks is there for a Roger McQueen, then I think it's a very viable option there.
Did Jake just cut out
Oh,
for
no,
anyone
so.
else? Oh, darn. Okay.
Wow.
He's on a roll.
I was
there he is.
going.
Oh,
No, we can hear you now. Okay,
Wow.
pick back
shoot,
up.
he's back.
Did I actually cut out for you guys?
You did. You
Yeah.
did for
Ooh.
like a little
A
bit.
good 10 seconds.
Oh, rough. No, but where I was going with it was that, like, we've seen Verbeek give these guys, go for the development path, go for the guys that have the higher ceiling, and maybe that Caden Lindstrom would have been that same person last year, but comparing him to a Beckett Seneca, he felt more comfortable with Seneca. If you think Roger McQueen is that, and there isn't a comparable in terms of the ceiling and the development runway, I think you're willing to take that risk, especially with it being 10th overall. Like, if you think that this is a 3rd overall talent that has fallen because of the injury, then you run with that.
Yeah, I think
Especially
that's a
so-
good point. Yeah.
Especially so because the players after McQueen and Eklund here, like, nothing really excites too much. I mean, what are you looking at? Obviously, we said Jackson Smith, Logan Hensler. I mean, Lakovic is nice. We like him, but
Maybe see a
to pass on
Carbonell,
those guys
maybe.
for that.
Like,
Also something to point out here that
Carter
I
Bear.
was-
But
I
he
was
tore his
curi-
Achilles. So
something I was curious about with McQueen, he's an October birthday, so he can play in the AHL not this upcoming year, but the year after.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you give him a year in junior to kind of just catch back up, and then you can throw him into pro hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that from a kind of just risk management perspective, it is a lot more easy to digest taking him at 10 than 8.
Yes.
Even just 8, because at 8 you could
Yeah.
take a maybe an O'Brien or a
Brady
take
Martin.
Brady Martin. Like, you could take someone who's got a bit of a floor, whereas, like Patrick was saying, like, once you start getting to 10, it's like, well, what am I giving up by taking McQueen at 10? And it starts, you start looking at Carter Bear, Logan Hensler, like it's just Jackson's, like, guys who are good in their own ways, but just maybe not. You're not leaving as much money on the table, and you might get to the point in your analysis where it's like, actually, the biggest risk is not taking Roger McQueen at that point. So maybe they do it. I would be fascinated by that. He would become a very fascinating. Like, it's funny because there are certain prospects where once the Ducks draft them, I kind of just stop following them for a little while. But he might actually be the one where I'd go out of my way to watch a little bit, because I'm like, he played 17 games this year. Like, there's just so much unknown with this guy. So interesting. Okay. Any other notes on this draft? Anything that sticks out in terms of teams or anything? The lottery balls.
I just think it's fascinating to see the group of teams in that top 7-ish, like unfamiliar faces. You got Boston in there and Nashville. Islanders won the dang thing. So it's just going to be interesting to see how those teams, because the past so many years it's been the Ducks and Columbus and Chicago, San Jose, and we kind of know where they're going. They're just building a pipeline, but these teams, it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah. I think that there's just so much different directions they could go. Yeah.
By the way, I'm just seeing Craig Button had a mock draft. Want to know who he had to the Ducks?
At 10? Is this
Yeah.
like a
Guess? Can all three of us guess?
Today.
I have no
All right,
clue.
Felix, go.
I have Justin Carbonneau.
No.
McQueen.
No.
Brady Martin.
Nope. Lyndon Lakovic.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah. I had a feeling he'd go skill. Yeah, maybe. But Craig Button's mock drafts are
Sure.
one
It was
of
just
the more.
interesting.
They're always kind of out there, but
see.
they're interesting. Yeah.
has anyone we typically put some stock into put a mock draft out yet? Or,
Here,
Like a
Do you want me-
predictive mock.
do you want me to
well,
give
not
you
even
his
predictive
1 through
mock, just like someone whose analysis we agree with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here's his 1 through 10, just for you guys out of curiosity. He has Schaefer going to New York, Martone going to San Jose, Misa going to Chicago, Hagen's going to Utah, Jake O'Brien to Nashville, Brady Martin to Philly, Caleb Denoyer. Did I do it right that time?
Nailed it.
There we go. See, I hear it and try. To Boston, Anton Frundell to Seattle, Radim Murka to Buffalo, and then Lyndon Lakovic to the Ducks.
Where did he have Eklund going?
Eklund was to Detroit, McQueen to Pittsburgh at 11.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I mean, there's so much to pick at here. I mean, Martone at 2.
Yeah. Like right off
man.
the jump.
I have a hard time seeing that happen, personally.
Same.
I like passing up on Misa just feels like a big gamble at 2. When you could just have your top 6 center and just never have to think about that again.
I am seeing someone say that Craig Button had the Flyers taking Jet Luchenko last year in his mock.
Really?
Early mock. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Could be
Higgins-
something, could be nothing.
Higgins at 4 to Utah. I mean, that's who I wanted for them. I just don't think it's gonna happen. I have just had this
Chris
gut
Peters.
feeling.
Chris Peters put one out.
Oh,
So let's see.
Cool.
Okay.
This is
I'll just-
great.
I'll just go through the top 10. Yeah. Okay. So Chris Peters from Flow Hockey, 2025 mock draft following the lottery results. Okay. So he had Higgins
What?
going 1.
Okay.
What?
Okay. All
He
right.
had Schaefer to San Jose, Frundell to Chicago.
Oh, wait. Did he do the Hagen's New York Islander fan thing?
Yes,
Is
he
that
did.
what?
He might
Okay.
have. Let's see what he wrote. Higgins.
The Islanders have a chance
yeah,
to
he
take a
mentioned-
kid who is local.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought he wasn't going to do it, but then the last sentence he mentioned
I mean,
it.
he would be a great pick for them. Personally, if they did that, I would not. I would clap. I would applaud them. Like it would not be this terrible pick in my.
Yeah,
opinion.
no, I just feel these guys typically try to go predictive more than like what they would do for each team. So I was just
Chris
surprised to
Peters
see
has
that.
also been very vocal about kind of being bored of this draft on their podcast, not being a fan. So maybe he's just like, screw it, I'm going chaos
Wow,
because
he had-
I want to make this exciting for myself.
He had
Uh,
so you had Martone at 4 to Utah, Misa at 5 to Nashville. Wow, that'd be a get for them.
I mean, Frundell at 3.
He had Denoyer to Philly, McQueen to Boston, Murka to Seattle, Jake O'Brien to Buffalo, and he has the Ducks taking Brady Martin with the Penguins taking
Yeah.
Victor Eklund.
I think Brady Martin could very well be a Duck. It just
I
just
could-
feels very
I could really see that.
Verbeekian.
I could really see that.
But man,
And how would we feel?
Frundell ahead of Martone though is just
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time believing that one. That one might even be more shocking than Hagen's at 1.
So here's one for you, Felix, because I feel like, and you know Patrick too, and I guess Jake as well. Not to like put you down, Jake, and something like that, but like
I guess
It's fine. I accept my role on this show.
So I feel, just because we were talking about a few minutes ago, like a lot of these names we're hearing, after pick 7 could very much be interchangeable. And Felix, I know you were talking about you're not sure if the McQueen gamble is something the Ducks either would do or should do in your eyes, but let's say it's between McQueen let's say Eklund has gone. So let's say it's between McQueen and Brady Martin. Let's say that's who Verbeek is
Are
debating.
you asking what
between.
I would do, or what Verbeek would do?
Well, I think we know what he would do, but what would you do? Just because, and I'm asking that because you mentioned that you wouldn't 100% sign off on a McQueen pick.
Well, I will first throw in a disclaimer that I am not that well researched on Brady Martin. Like, I haven't watched a ton of him, so it's not like I don't have a great feel for him.
Mhm.
But if you're giving me the choice, I'm gonna fall back on a bit of a cliche, but I feel like you can go find a Brady Martin more easily than you can find a Roger McQueen, and
That's
the Ducks are in a position where they can take this risk, but I fully acknowledge that I'm probably underrating Brady Martin, and he would be a good pick too. It's hard. It's really hard. That is a true gut check on where you're at on each player. But I feel like Patrick could probably give a bit more of a illuminated view of this one.
I mean, it's easy to be like swing for upside when you're in our positions, which isn't like it's not a multi-million-dollar pick on the line here.
Yeah.
It's not my job on the line.
Yeah.
I think where the Ducks pipeline is, yeah.
I mean, there's a chance.
I think I would go.
Whoever
I think I
drafts
would
him
still,
never sees him play for your team. So.
Right. I think I would still go Brady
Yeah.
Martin because I think Brady Martin's a good complement for what the Ducks have, and that's your surefire middle six center winger. He can kill penalties and just a Swiss Army knife kind of player. So if you're looking to put the finishing touches on a rebuild like the Ducks are, then that's your pick. If you're looking to maybe swing for the fences, then McQueen is your pick if it's between those two. But I think I would go Martin.
Yeah, and I very much feel like I could see a scenario where it's easily down to those two, and I could also certainly see Ducks fans that don't necessarily stay too up to date on the draft, where they see Roger McQueen still on the board and then they pick Brady Martin. I could see them,
it's going to be like Demidov last year.
I can see the tweets flying. But... Yeah, I can see the tweets flying. A little bit of a different scenario, picking 10th and not 3rd, but yeah, I think this is really going to be fascinating.
Well, so I do think Patrick made a good point about, Brady Martin does give the Ducks a middle six forward, and they kind of do need that right now. Like that is something that is not a need that's fully filled out, because yes, you've got Zegras and McTavish and some veterans, but having another guy in there who can actually help drive possession, I mean, that is something that they don't have a ton of, and I don't think they're going to get from their farm system currently, obviously outside of the Beckett Senecas of the world. So there is a lot of value to that. Like, there is a lot of value to just kind of having that glue guy to bridge the gap between top six and bottom six a little bit. So maybe I've swung back to the Brady Martin side. I honestly don't have a definitive conclusion on that. I think you can make a really good argument either way, and I'm not gonna fight you tooth and nail. Maybe for the next Crash the Draft, I'll spend more time looking up Brady Martin, and maybe I'll have a different take. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. So, should we do questions, or Jake? Sure. Where do you want to go from here?
Sure. Let's do some questions here.
Okay.
So we're gonna start with our Patreon exclusive Discord. Go to patreon.com/crashspawn to get access to it and get access to our Discord with podcast question channel. We will start there. So Tesla had this question for us, basically kind of with our conversation last week about Joel Quenneville and just kind of overall hockey culture, and especially with the active trial going on and everything like that, and just overall thoughts on kind of the dark history a bit within hockey culture and kind of what maybe can happen to help improve this.
Wow.
Very heavy question, I know. So,
is this from Discord?
Yes, it is.
Wait, where is this question?
In the podcast questions channel.
No, but who asked it?
Tussle.
Oh, okay. I mean, what can be done to address it? I don't know. I
think more transparency, honestly.
I also think that there just has to be punishment. Like, maybe that's a backwards view of it, but I think that there's so much in youth hockey with like hazing and just problematic behavior, even from coaches, that just doesn't go punished. And I think that there has to be consequences to those actions. And I think that maybe with this Hockey Canada scandal, maybe we are seeing that, and it's very tragic that this is how it had to happen. But maybe these athletes that feel a little bit invincible because of the jersey they wear will think differently if it could ruin their lives and send them into prison potentially. So punish.
Yep.
Punish
Agreed.
is my answer.
Yep.
Yeah, it's hard to pick one thing there. That's kind of a
Yeah,
broad.
I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah.
It's also like it's a hockey problem. It's also a society problem. Like there's a lot there for sure.
Yep.
So
All right, moving on. Our good friend Genius Jack said, for Crash the Draft, who are the Ducks picking at 10th overall, and why is it Roger McQueen?
there you go. We've answered that.
They wanna grip the bat a little tighter and swing for the fences. That's why.
The greenest of bastards said, with the Ducks sliding in the draft, are the chances of Jack Kopaka returning to the team higher? The bit will never die.
Jeez.
This is the oldest running bit in Crash the Pond history.
It's
Honestly,
great.
It might be. It might be.
It 100% is.
I think it started because there might have been one episode in the Anaheim Calling days where I said like Jack Opaka will never be an NHLer or something. I was right, by the way. Just
Flowers.
Throwing that out there. Not that was a tough call to make.
Bold take there.
Not that saying an ECHLer never being an AHLer was a bold take, but anyway.
Malarkey said, I think trading the 10th overall pick makes the most sense. This question may be for the next pod, but it'd be interesting to look past 10th overall pick trades. Patrick already did this. Look at past 10th overall pick trades and maybe what the Ducks could get. I mean, it seems like really the only one kind of similar would maybe be DeBrincat, right?
So what was the actual DeBrincat trade?
That was, Patrick, I think you had mentioned that when I realized that was the Korchinski trade, right?
Yeah, it was DeBrincat for a 1, a 2, and a 3, and the 1 was Korchinski.
But what was the actual pick, like, ranking?
Oh, 7 overall.
7th? Okay.
Yeah.
But is there an Alex DeBrincat out there? Is the question. I honestly am just kind of team don't trade it. Sure, if it knocks your socks off, but I just am skeptical that is actually out there. So,
and the only other thing would be to trade up or down in the same draft. And down, the Ducks really don't need to stockpile any more picks. Yeah. And up, I don't really see any of the other teams moving down to 10 just to get more picks. So,
yeah, maybe
it's hard
maybe if it's a team that wants McQueen or something. But and
I mean, and for everyone just saying, oh, for whatever reason, they personally may not like the draft or whatever, and they just say, just have to trade it. Well, it's like you never just want to trade. You never want to make a trade just for the sake of saying you made a trade. Like,
and also like this is probably a weaker draft if you look at like the deep ends of the first round, but this top 10 to 15 is still pretty good. Like it's not as you don't have your Fantilli, Carlson, Michkov, Bedard tier at the top, but there's still some solid players, and at 10 you can add someone who's going to help your franchise. So
can I add a slight like annoyance on that? I feel like every draft,
if it's not not number one, trade it.
Like every single draft, but even then, like every single draft, it's like next year's going to be better. Next year's going to be better. Like that happens every single year, and at a certain point, it's like. It's a boy who cried wolf, and there's good players in every draft type of deal. Like, it's just it's starting to become annoying to me because I feel like every year it's always like trade this year's first rounders because next year's going to be great. Well, next year's here, and now let's trade this year's first rounders because next year, like, it's just a never-ending cycle. It feels.
Patrick, were you going to say something there?
I mean, I was just going to say that we just went through a mock, and we just determined pretty much that. After pick 11 or 12, I think there's a pretty big drop off. So trading back doesn't make any sense. And I don't see a team to trade up. And then what Jake was saying, yeah, absolutely. Remember a year ago now, James Higgins was the guy. He just set a record at the U18 World Championships for points in the tournament. And now he's sliding all the way to 6 in our mock draft. Like, a lot can change in a year. Like, I don't see Gavin McKenna dropping like that, but like there are guys that could. And yeah, last year at the same time it was Porter Martone and James Higgins, and now we're looking all the way ahead to the Swedish kids and McKenna next year. And I don't know.
Do you remember when Shane
like Jake
Wright
was saying, happens every year, huh?
Shane Wright was like hyped up to be this like super high end pick, like the year before that draft.
Wasn't he an exceptional?
Exceptional status, yeah.
Yeah, exceptional status, yeah.
And it's just like that. Everything can change, even as the draft comes. Like a draft that may look weaker on paper right now, 2 to 3 years down the line, as guys develop more. Like, yeah, you can just end up in unique situations where things change. And so that's where it's like, take the pick. I think the simple solution is take the player.
That 2017 draft was supposed to be pretty weak, and that one had Heischer and Heiskanen and Makar. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, that week week draft.
Yeah.
I mean, sure. Next year you're gonna have Gavin McKenna and, like Patrick pointed out, the Swedish guys Sternberg and Vigo, but. So yes, maybe, and then the year after that you have Landon DuPont, but like those are the names that's the extent of the names people know, and so it's kind of like, we don't want to be too forward looking, and that 2017 draft, you're bang on. Like Philly must be just, man, Nolan Patrick at 2. Like obviously he didn't pan out for different reasons, but Heiskanen and Makar and Pettersson back to back after that is just crazy.
Jake, I will say, just looking at the 2026 list real quick, there's a Rudolph.
Really?
Ooh.
There's a Rudolph. Daxon Rudolph, Daxon.
That is very close
name.
to Jake's name.
He's a 6'1" right shot D for Prince Albert.
So what you're saying is the Ducks should tank for Rudolph next year.
I mean, or he will be a later first round pick.
Play golf for Rudolph.
Also, Simone Nemit's brother, Adam.
Okay. I'm here for that.
Oh, right. What a name. Vigo Bjork.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, he's
what a name.
He's the guy who might go probably top 3. Him and Ivar Stenberg. Yeah.
All right, one more question. Blobby head person said, if the Ducks get Roger McQueen at 10, is this draft and the dropping back 2 spots actually a success?
I mean, we just won't know for a long time. I hate to be that guy because I tend to be against this way of thinking, but I do think if you take Roger McQueen at 10, I think the decision is defensible, but it is very much going to be defined by how it plays out. Because if he ends up just never making the NHL, then that's a problem. That's a big problem.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's end. We've got 2 questions in the YouTube chat, so we'll get those and then want to get on out of here.
Sure.
All right. So for those of you watching on listening on your favorite podcast services, we do a live stream each and every time at twitch.tv/crashthepond or youtube.com/crashthepond, where you can watch us live on Twitch. You can support us if you have Amazon Prime. On YouTube, you can like and subscribe to the channel. So Morlock asks, if you had to draft purely on the best name, who are you picking?
Best
Roger
name.
McQueen.
Roger McQueen.
Roger McQueen.
Roger McQueen easily.
Dang.
Carter Bear's cool.
Braden Coots. Joshua Ravensbergen.
Porter Martone's cool.
Porter Martone is cool.
Porter Martone's pretty good.
Colin Potter's cool.
Now I'm looking at the names.
I'm scrolling all the way down to cheat. Let's see.
Lyndon Lakovich just sounds like a hockey name.
That is actually a pretty good one.
That is a very hockey name.
Plus
Jack
points.
Murtaugh sounds like a quarterback.
Kashawn Aitchison, that's pretty sick.
Jakub East Wozniak.
Oh, Michael Misa also is a solid name.
It's a good one. Yeah. Santeri Huovila.
Misa going to San Jose.
Yaroslav Brizgalov.
Wow.
That's a good one. That sounds like, you know what? That sounds like an NHL 10 creative or
that's
GM
where I was gonna go.
Draft prospect.
Well, I don't know if you guys remember this back in the day, but like you would make a franchise mode in NHL, and once you get to like your 5th season, the game starts creating the prospects in the draft, and it's just like, it's like you said, it's just like a randomizer of existing names.
Yeah, it's like some dude from Estonia going number 1 overall. You're like, what?
Ilya Fedorov.
Sydney Ovechkin. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
right.
Yes.
All right, last question. Chris Weissong said, assuming they get a scoring top 6 forward in free agency, I presume that bumps Strome and Vetrano to a true third line role. Would you like to see Terry play on a Gauthier-Leo line or a Zegras-McTavish line? So a little Ducks talk to end this.
Zegras McTavish put Seneca with Gauthier and Leo.
I'm down for that.
I feel like you can't mess that up either way. The Ducks' top 6 is going to be very good in not that long. Potentially next year if Seneca makes the team. So,
Yep.
Yeah, good question.
All right.
Okay.
I think that will do it for us.
Time flies. Yeah. Ravensburgen might be the one I'm partial to.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's just
Sounds like a Harry Potter character.
Oh, is he a
It
goalie?
does.
Oh, that's perfect. The Raven guarding the net. Okay. It's time to get out of here. All right. Well, if you enjoyed this podcast, there are a few great ways to support us and keep this thing going. We will definitely be doing more of these Crash the Drafts. Now it's like I feel like once the lottery has happened, that helps me frame the analysis because now it's like, okay, these are the names we're looking out for. So that'll be fun. We're going to do more of these. If you want to support that, go to patreon.com/crashthepond. And you can join there for $2 a month. You get access to our Discord server, connect with other diehard Ducks fans, connect with us, connect with the Crash the Draft crew at all times of day. Jake gets up for work at sometimes 1 a.m., so you can chat him up if you're up late.
That happened once.
It was just so funny when you got up at like midnight and you tweeted like you post like a GIF that was like rise and grind or something. It was very funny.
Yeah.
Me laughing at your plight is always fun. You can also up that pledge to $7.50 a month, get access to bonus podcasts and videos. But you can also just leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcast. And if you've already reviewed the show, well, Crash the Draft is a little bit of an offshoot, so you can leave us a second review. That is an option as well, but we really appreciate hearing from you guys. Subscribe to us on Spotify, leave us feedback there. Subscribe on YouTube for the video version of the pod and additional videos. Follow us all on social media. Once again, thank you to Patrick and Connor. Appreciate you guys hopping on. This is always a blast. And with that, we will talk to you all soon, hopefully with good coaching news.
Bye.
Goodbye.